Welcome, dear friends, to a special commentary as we are now in the month of October, the month of the Holy Rosary, which we have the grace to be able to do for you. The feast day, the memorial feast day of Our Lady of the Rosary, which is the 7th of October, and also for the month of the Holy Rosary, where we will be able to come back to you on some of the following Mondays, because there's so much marvelous material about the Rosary, about the praying of the Rosary. And the Rosary is such an actual devotion, it's such a present-day devotion. I read the other day that, for example, the American bishops are starting a special emphasis, giving special emphasis to the praying of the Holy Rosary. And they're going to have a special celebration of prayers, I believe, in San Francisco, and then all throughout the country on the 7th of October. The best thing we can start off is, how did this feast day originate? This feast day started, although later on we can go into the summing up of this, what led up to this coming of this feast day, which was the devotion of the Holy Rosary, which we can say really starts with Saint Dominic in the siege of Albi, with Saint Simon de Montfort in the 13th century, and also with the propagation of the Rosary by Blessed Alain de la Roche in the 15th century. But that we can talk about later on, because as the feast day was not proclaimed until 1571, which was the year of the Battle of Lepanto. And St. Pius X instituted it in commemoration for the great victory reached by the Holy League this was a league that he had put together after a lot of hard work and difficulty in overcoming the lack of interest and the tepidity of the Christian princes at that time, to prepare for a great maritime battle of the fleets of Spain, Genoa, the Republic of Venice, and also some ships from the Pontifical States. So these were put together by the Holy Pope after years of hard work, writing letters and exhorting the princes and exhorting them like that, because unfortunately the Renaissance was making ravages of Catholic Europe. The state of Christendom was being torn apart by this new state of effervescence of Renaissance, after which immediately followed Protestantism right away in the 16th century. And all of this state of mind and state of soul, as an author said at the time, was like a great feast which sprinkled, a champagne that sprinkled with its venom like that, all of the states of society at that time. And it became a sin of the whole of society. And against this was working the Holy Pope, because he perceived the danger that the Christian princes did not want to perceive. After that followed the preparation for the Battle of Lepanto, which took place in the 7th of October of 1571. As we were saying, the Pope at the time, St. Pius V, and also one of the key figures of the League, who was Marco Antonio Colonna. The Colonna family is a princely family of Italy, and they have a palace in Genassano. It's a small town 50 kilometers from Rome, and there is a miraculous image, fresco, of Our Lady of Good Counsel of Genassano. This is the object of a book which is being translated into English, which is called The Mother of Good Counsel, by Monsignor João Cladias, our founder, because he received very many graces there, and graces, intuitions, and ideas of how to orient at the time, when he would say almost daily sermons for the whole of the Heralds. And also Dr. Plinio received a great grace from a picture, a poster of that devotion in 1967 or the beginning of 1968, when he had a very severe diabetic crisis, and he was concerned that he would not fulfill his vocation. And people who had visited Italy, who had brought him a poster from Our Lady of Good Counsel of Genassano, and he saw it and received a great grace of Our Lady, who he told him, "My son, don't worry, because your mission will be fulfilled. Don't worry, that you will fulfill your mission," which gave him the grace and the strength, the spiritual strength, to continue working for years and years. But all of this is due to Our Lady of Good Counsel, and the first in command after Saint John of Austria, the first in command was an inspiration of the Pope Philip II Spain, who was Don John de Austria, who was a very young man, only about 20 odd years, but a very combative, very capable militarily. And he put him in command of the whole fleet. And his number 2 was Marco Antonio de Colonna, who was decisive for the victory. Because on the 7th of October, the fleet, let's put it this way, even before the beginning of the battle, there's been a council between the various heads of the League. There was the heads of the ships, the Andrea Doria of the Genovese fleet, those from Venice, and those pontifical. Andrea Doria wanted to postpone the battle. He didn't want a big battle then because the winter is coming and it's being difficult, and they have superiority, they have more ships than we do, etc., etc. And Marco Antonio de Colonna, who was great devotee of Our Lady of Good Counsel, gave a good counsel to the gathering there, which prepared the battle. He says, no, we have to attack immediately because the Pope wants us to do that. And if we don't do that, things will get much worse. And he said, I want to go ahead with this battle, even if it costs my life. And he went ahead, and he was so decisive and so emphatic that he turned the decision of all the others with his good counsel and made the whole League prepare for battle and decide that they would attack and go into battle. So they sailed for the Gulf of Lepanto. On the 7th of October, there was a tremendous battle there. The battle was started, and Ali Pasha, who was the head of the Muslim fleet, rammed the admiralty ship of John John of Austria, and they started a hand-to-hand battle because the two ships were moored together. 2 times the Turks invaded the captain's ship. For 2 times the Christians threw them out and advanced into the Muslim ship up to the main mast. You see, on the 3rd time that the Muslims had came, they surrounded even John John of Austria, who was with sword in hand, surrounded by the bodies of his soldiers that had died defending him and dividing the battle. At that moment, Prince Colonna received a grace of the Holy Spirit. He said, no, they're in danger. We have to help the captain of Don John the Austria. So he decided with his ship to ram the captain ship of the Turks, and then all of his soldiers jumped into the 2 ships, and the battle turned decisively. And the chronicles of the time said, the sea once more became tinged with the crimson of the blood. The tide was turned in favor of the Catholics. One of the Christians went up the main mast of the Turkish ship and put a Christian banner. And then the Turks said later that a lady with a terrible face appeared, with a frightening face appeared to them. Our Lady appeared to them. The Catholics didn't see that, but the Turks did. And they were so frightened with that and what was happening with their own admiral's ship that they took off. They just left, and the battle was won. And St. Pius V was in a meeting in Rome discussing his accounts with his account, and all of a sudden he received a grace and he became ecstatic, and he said no. And then after a few minutes, he turned to his accountant and said, no, go with God, that this is not the time to do business, but to give thanks to God for the great victory that we have reached against the Turks. And then he went to his own private chapel immediately and gave thanks to God and remained there in prayer. Later on, after a galloping horseman, took about 2 weeks, several to arrive in Rome with the news of the victory. And the people calculated the same time, and the victory was done at the same time that the Holy Pope had received that grace. And due to this, he instituted, for perpetual memory of the power of the Mother of God, St. Pius V had added the ejaculatory Auxilium Christianorum, which is very much said to this day, you see. And today the Church celebrates in its liturgy the victory of Mary Most Holy in Lepanto with the feast of the Holy Rosary, this powerful arm in order to defeat the enemies of the Church, you see. And this is the great victory which it was the cause of the institution of this feast.